continuing then, yes, to the point where I started, you will start to find the presence of God, awareness of Him in your dreams, in your dreaming, and not just in your, occasional moments in your daily life, but in your dreams. You're winning. You're winning. The reality of His presence is in your mind that will sail you through the after death, your journey to heaven, your awareness of Him. You see, what you travel through after death is according to your being, your mind, the consequence of who you are, your values. You could use the jargon of saying it's a judgment. It's simply who you are is manifesting in what you're going through and to. Your goal and your way to it. So you want to be in the habit of your goal is our Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, heaven, life eternal. Your way to it? Well, as a person who follows Jesus, you would say Jesus is the way. Your way to it is awareness of Him, gratitude to Him, your awareness of her, gratitude to Divine Mum for her love and care, thankfulness to Dad for his provision and protection, home, the universe you've been in, and the heaven you're going to. Wonderful Dad, beautiful Mum, wonderful one. Love you. My love, love you. I'll add a note here. Don't you think it's bizarre, the hot air balloons, that you can have a device that just lets you float on the wind, of course. You can't steer it, really. You have to go with the flow. But high above the ground, you're just floating on air. Not so much on air, but in air at a certain level. And you can go higher if you put a bit more hot air in. Or you can go lower if you don't bother and let it gradually cool down. And you can just sail over the countryside and the town. And you look down. I've not done it. But you look down on this lovely view. I have been in an aeroplane, of course. Look down. God, isn't that amazing? Fascinating. Looking down on Los Angeles when you take off from it. And then you see the sea coming up. And you're going to be overseas for the next 11 hours or something crazy. Or flying in to England and you fly down the east coast and you look down at you're not very high up. You're only a mile or two up, And you look down at all the patchwork fields and little churches, villages, and then there's another little village. And the different colours of the fields according to crop and ploughing and so on. And you're just sailing high across. And such a simple thing like a hot air balloon makes it possible to experience a different dimension. There's something in my mind about the parallel with being in heaven. It's a different dimension, and yet one that's so near. You're actually in it already, but you're in a very pedestrian part of it, not a hovering, flying part of it. Aeroplanes, very mechanical of course, but in some sense give you that choice of, a much greater choice of where you're going and what you can do. But the hot air balloon, in such simplicity, makes this other dimension accessible. So simply, just hot air. Actually, it's a bit costly, hot air ballooning, as you can imagine, because, you know, the equipment itself and, that basically. And presumably someone to pick you up too, wherever you do land. You know, you've got to pack up your balloon and stow it all away again in the ute or whatever it is you've got. So, yeah. And I'm not terribly keen on flying. Not sure as I want to rely on man's contrivances too much, more than I have to anyway. And hot air balloons look particularly dodgy. I mean, not sure as they insure you for hot air ballooning. Mind you, I'm surprised they insure you for flying, but we are told that flying is safer than driving the car. I wouldn't think it's safer per mile. Perhaps it is. Yeah. I have a very simple contrivance that allows us to be established in the heavens. It's to be thankful. Thankful to your God for all the blessings you receive. You'll find you're flying in no time at all. You won't even be able to conceive of the old life too easily. Quite amazing. Thank you, Divine Mum. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, my love. But if I can manage to finish this recording, I would like to say, I want to draw attention to being in the embrace of Divine Mother, Divine Mum. Coming back to that lady who's been blind since she was born, is now 88. I would so want her to know the embrace of Divine Mother eternally with her. Of course, I understand that sight is no problem in heaven, any more than the body is in general. For we have the freedom then of the mind of God, our Dad. I think I'll stick with Dad on that one for a moment. In the permanent embrace of our God, Divine Mum. I think I'll stick with that one too. And they're both the one, my love. Thank you, my love. I say I'm rather impressed that already I'm feeling much more comfortable with the use of saying Divine Mother, Divine Mum, her embrace. Meaning you, Heavenly Dad. You, Divine Mum. Thank you, my love. And I've called this recording prophetic because being in the prophetic becomes normal very quickly. Not a strange thing at all. But to not be in the prophetic becomes very strange. You see, we're not simply the love of God. We are his very thoughts. All thoughts come from him. As I understand it, we draw them according to our state of maturity, what we're drawing out. But that all thought, all, in fact, not just thought, all that is thought. That this is, in a sense, the substance of our God as the universe of the transitory here, this particular creation. It's how God manifests here. It is a manifestation of his thought, or rather the thought itself is a manifestation of what he is. I'm still using he a lot, aren't I? She is the being. And our being too. We are manifesting as the thought and the actions and words and so on that follow accordingly. But we are in the same dimension as our God, which is in a sense beyond the dimensions that we're in here, or rather, here is a subdivision of such. The classroom, of course. When you know you are part of the thoughts of God, your Divine Mother, your Heavenly Father, you start to grasp a comprehensiveness that manifests as a fullness of life, even while here. So Jesus prays in John 17 that they might be with me, Father, where I am. You know, where I am. Now, I mean, superficially to us, he's in the story on earth and he's praying to God. He hasn't left, he hasn't died yet. But he knows where he is, compared to us in the dream. We're just dreaming. And we're dreaming in a very narrow selection of God's thoughts, if you like. Occupied with a very short-sighted view of what reality is. Whereas in the prophetic we have a greater view. Depending what degree in the prophetic we are at. Thank you, my love.